Hello and welcome to the Thursday show. This is your weekly rundown of the biggest and best tournaments coming up over the weekend. My name is Paul Murphy, your host, joined by Dustin Hinshaw and Adam Camilleri.
Evening, everybody.
We have two great events to talk about. Talk about the players you're going to see there, the list, the archetypes, the army types, the players, the top seeded players, maybe some memes. You don't know what you're going to see. And then another event. Yeah. We want to give a shout out to Where's Joe? Where's War Games Live happening? What's going on with them? Free State Grain Tournament in Holton, Kansas. 45 players, 6 rounds. That's where they're going to be this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good one over there. I've done a couple of interviews for War Games Live. Hopefully you enjoyed those if you did participate. But they're last week with the Rocky Mountain coverage. So yeah, jump in, support War Games Live Joe. We love his work. We do have one event shout out to the Tasmanian Team Championships down in lovely Van Diemen's Land, which is the old name for Tasmania, Australia. That's the island at the bottom of the big island. 64 players, 52 players rather, in 12 teams of 4 using the WTC format. Should be a really good event. Good luck to all competitors.
We have another team. We have a team tournament to talk about here on this show. I like that there's just so many team tournaments out there in the world right now. Team 40K is some of the ways that we all appreciate playing because you kind of get to go and it's a whole different experience, a whole other camaraderie. You get kind of share the load over the course of the weekend, and there's all that build up, which is way different than a singles experience.
Usually it's a really weird format of pairings, isn't it? For a format, it's usually all about picking who they're going to have first and who they're going to champion if they're using the champion format. It's a really, really cool just trying to pick, because if you can pick those two, you pretty much know what everything else they're going to do. But we have two big events. The first one is actually kind of crazy. They've named it something hilarious, but in addition to that, it is a full national squad. It's a national level competition.
The Eurotrash Cup. Is that what you're referring to?
This is what I am. I'm happy they said it.
They said it too. Oh, thank you, chat. I was definitely muted. I'm fixed now. The patriarch is no longer muted. Thank you for pointing that out. We have fixed that. I was just talking about team tournaments and how awesome they are and how I have one this weekend. That's all it was. That wasn't
People
anything.
People could tell your enthusiasm. They could feel it.
They could feel it. They knew I was excited to talk about it. They couldn't hear. I was like, no. I'm here now.
So the reason the Eurotrash is crazy cool is because we have national teams representing each other. So there's like Team France is in attendance and looks like it is quite a strong French team. So it's eight players, as in at the international WTC level, you field 8 of your strongest players. This event is mirroring that. It looks like it is a prep event for WTC. People trying to get their squad correct, people on the right factions for the right times. But with always that bit of uncertainty about this year's WTC because it's already been voted on by the national captains that should 10th edition be out, they're going to play 10th edition. Yeah. So the prep they're doing right now is more about team cohesion, getting the right players in the right mindsets. Is this a defender? Is this a attacker?
Moving models around of that faction, getting comfortable with the base stat line. What we've seen with whenever there's big changes, it's rarely in like complete composition of the army stats or configuration or whatever.
Yeah, you'll still get the same idea, comfort level with the faction itself and how it's supposed to play.
I doubt the movement phase is going away. It's pretty much what you
don't know
saying,
that.
Right?
You don't know that. I guarantee you there's a couple of phases.
I said I doubt.
Gone, so
I said doubt.
64 players, 8 teams of 8, 5 rounds. They're in Amersfoort, Netherlands. And thankfully, it's noted here that's in Europe.
In case it was, well, this is the thing, right? I pretty much blame North America for me needing to state that. I didn't know there was a Palestine, Ohio, until what unfortunately happened there.
So Dublin, Georgia?
Exactly. So I have to. It could be a Netherlands, freaking Arkansas. I don't know.
Maybe. There's definitely an Amersfoort.
Isn't it Arkansas? I thought that's what it was. That's what it spelled like.
It is.
That whole section of the country can be an enigma sometimes.
No, see, Arkansas is Archaon's alter ego.
Oh,
so completely different thing. That's an AOS model.
It's the arch nemesis of a popular 80s band.
Okay. I see where we went with that. How many of you in chat got that reference? Come on.
That's pretty good.
Sound off.
If this is your first time here, this is pretty much how the show goes. But
But you will learn things, I promise you.
Now the format is we actually talk about what factions you're going to see there. Since this is a team event, though, most team events do have a limit on the number of times you can select a faction. It's no more than one faction per team. So that's going to influence what we see here in the faction stats. Dustin, could you do the honors and let us know what we're going to see there faction-wise?
Absolutely. So again, like Paul was saying, since there's 8 teams, we will never see any more than 8 of any single faction, and I'm curious to see if we get more than 50%. Now, with normally the last couple of teams they've been 5-team events, so an 8-team event, we should see a couple 6s and 8s here for sure. We should.
There are. Absolutely, there are.
It's the Imperial Super Faction. There's only 1 Sisters to Battle, 6 Custodes, 1 Admech, 7 Astra Militarum. Yeah, that's not surprising.
Not surprising.
2 Grey Knights, 1 Imperial Knight. That's a little surprising, actually. Space Marines, 6 Dark Angels. Yeah, okay. 2 Iron Hands.
Wow, and that's it, though?
That's
wow.
it. That's it.
And
the Europeans do not like these. They're done with Space Marines, man. They're done.
That's all they can take, though. There's 8 teams, and there's 8 Space Marines taken.
Oh, that's right, because they actually... That's right.
Everyone took one.
Okay, yep. That makes sense then.
A lock law, I'm right there with you. I did. I was like, where are the Blood Angels in this mix?
Even the Space Wolves, boys. I expected a few Space Wolves. A few Space Wolves, a few Iron Hands, mostly Dark Angels is what I thought I was going to say.
Maybe some of the Iron Hands are painted red.
Yes.
Backpacks
hastily stuck on, blue tack grab cannons,
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Chaos Super Faction, there's 1 Chaos Space Marine, which is Emperor's Children. There's 1 T-Sun, 1 Death Guard, 4 World Eaters, 5 Demons, and 4 Renegade Knights. Yeah, you see the Renegade Knights coming up in teams. We've talked about this before, too. Xenos, there's 2 Necrons, 3 Orcs, 3 Tau, and 3 Votan. That's the best Xeno spread I've ever seen in any tournament ever. Hive Mind, there's 1 Tyranid and 5 Genius Stealer Cult. Genius Stealer Cult are good right now, guys. They're especially for teams. In Eldari, there's 1 Harlequin and 4 Asuriani. Meaning the faction podium is Space Marines topping it off with 8 because every single team took 1. Astra Militarum in second with only 1 team not taking them. And then Custodes and Dark Angels in third with 6. 2 teams choosing not to take those factions. What do you think of that spread, guys? Does that make sense to you?
Well, I want to go back to your comment there for a second, though, with Gene Stealer Cult saying they're really good in team events. They've also been doing pretty well in singles. I mean, you yourself have taken down some singles glory, I think, recently with them. What do you think is the component for that team that may make it even more special?
Well, they have 2 of the best secondaries in the game right now. Their recent upgrades, a recent upgrade to Ambush makes them like almost an auto 42, if not 45, depending on the matchup with their secondaries.
It's wild.
It is wild. And the Leaf Blower list, as a lot of people have come to call it, which is just like 80 neophytes or 30 bikes, can do so much damage in 1 turn. If you misposition 1 turn on either turn 2 or 3, if you misposition, you're done. Like, it's over. They will table you. You will score no more points. And they, in a team event, means get a huge differential. Huge differential.
So the crazy thing about them is that they have such numerosity on the table that you in the team, especially in an 8-pack teams, you can really use them to prey on. Like you can use them to pair into things that just don't have the shots to kill them. Like you play against Votan. Votan can't kill enough neophytes to win the game.
Votan have a lot of I guess a low amount of quality firepower, but you're trying to churn through 80, 90, 100
that's
bodies.
Well, that you can only wound on 3s in a lot of the cases with these lists.
Exactly right.
So human now. The big thing with the G Circle too, when you're talking about pairings too, if you're going into a team tournament, honestly, especially an 8-man, you need to have 2 lists geared towards them if you intend to deal with them, or you throw somebody that's not going to have a good matchup anyway.
But there are some parallels here, because there are things that you can take that are good into GSC, but also have good options in elsewhere, namely Orcs. If you take something that's good at GSC, usually it's going to be pretty good into Orcs also. So you don't have to like just waste it if they don't have a good GSC player.
Yeah, you're not gearing. I say gearing towards a GSC, but like you said, you're going to be good against other things too. It's just
if you have a top faction in the game, I'm talking Dark Angels, Iron Hands, GSC, Craftwood, Eldar, Orcs, and if you in 8-mans, you need to have 2 answers for each one of those. So you need to have 2 things.
100%.
So should they put those up for a pairing, you have to have 2 things in your hand to be like, neither of these are going to get annihilated. Here we go. Which one do they want? Because that's how it works, guys. If you don't know, the pairings process is really quite deep and technical for 8-mans. I wonder if Paul, you want to take over explaining it.
Which part of that?
The how the dynamic works for pairings.
The actual pairings.
Oh, the pairings, yeah. So with when you make the roll off, whoever has to put out a list. So the one team will put out a list and say, "This is what our shove out is. Give me 2 of your combatants, throw them into the ring, and then I will get to choose which one of those I would like to pick." And so I think what you were talking about, Adam, is the fact that you want to have them have no retreat, no escape from the things that are quality matchups against them, and that's difficult to do sometimes, and that's been more difficult to do in this current meta.
Exactly right. It's not quite a very coin flippy, because the X factor in the team's environment is that the player who essentially gets offered the bad choice or the really bad choice gets to pick the table upon which that will happen. That engagement will occur.
And so there's so much. One of the reasons we love the team event so much is that there's a heck of a lot of psychology, a lot of guesswork, a lot of hedging your bets or whatever in this pairing process. Sometimes you want to play list to list, sometimes you want to play player to player, and then you're exactly right. Sometimes you want to be fishing for the table that you want, and that determines when you push out certain lists in whatever.
It's another mini game within the game. It's so
exactly
right. Yeah, it's awesome.
Exactly. And it's the medium upon which teams are made great or teams flounder, because you could have the best lineup of sharks, murderers row, but if you can't pair properly, they're all going to play into bad matchups.
Yep.
And they're all going to lose. Well, some of them are going to lose, and you're not going to win the rounds. Anyway, let's talk about 2 of the top teams in the tents. These are national level teams, guys. So what you can expect here is that these are some of the best players in the countries of which they are from, and they're playing the best lists for the meta. So this is a great indication of what these nations think are the 8 best lists in the game, or 8 best factions at the very least. These lists will be geared towards teams.
And we are, in the interest of time, just kind of give you the highlights of the list, and we'll talk about the archetypes of what they are.
It would be a near 3-hour show if I read through all of these lists and disseminated them, and my voice would be shot. So first up, we have Team Poland, mostly considered, very revered, the strongest teams nation in the world. They have won more titles and gotten more podiums than most other nations in the world put together. They are every time we have a Team Poland, I'm going to tell you about it, because they're always a good look in. They start off their 8-pack with World Eaters. This is a Lord Invocatus build with MSU Zerkers, maxed 8 bound, and a couple units of Exalted, and they have a Dreadclaw in tow to add that little bit of spice and X factor. Next up, we have a Dark Angels list, which can simply be told as 39 Terminators and their associated support pieces. Ashton Militarum Born Heroes up next, 30 Kassakin, a Dawn, 3 Plasma Cutioner Lehman Russes, and a single tank commander. So very much pushing that meat on the table, that high toughness skew. Demons of Zinch is up next. So this is pure Zinch demons. They have Max Flamers, a full 18, 20 Pink Horrors, MSU Screamers, a Lock, and 3 Exalted Flamers. Asturiani and Harlequins. This is a true Eldari, by the way. This is a true Eldari. So it's more than 25% in the Harlequins portion here. So this is Swift Strikes and Masterful Shots from the Asturiani portion, and then Light Sated from the Harlequins portion. It is Baharoth, 3 units of Shroud Runners, and a bunch of MSU Aspect Warriors, combined with 3 units of Harlequin Troop in boats, a Shadowseer, and a Death Jester. Jinsteel Cults up next, which is in Affinity, Toil, Fury, and Convoy. If you want to know what any of that crap is, please ask in chat. Dustin will tell you. 80 Neophytes and 30 Jackals. It's the list. It's the GSC list.
We talked about that. 120 bodies. It's
Yeah, exactly. Well, this one still has 10 Genestealer Occult and a bunch of MSU Acolytes. So, but the archetype is as described on screen for you guys. Chaos Knights up next. House Herpetrax, 13 small, so no big knights here. 5 Carnivores, which is actually quite unusual to see such the melee skew here, because usually you'll see 1 or 2 Carnivores and then everything else will be Daka.
I like that though, because you can just be like, hey, I moved 17. What are you going to do?
It's scary, man. It puts the pressure on people. So yeah, 5 Carnivores, 6 Stalkers, 2 Executioners makes up this one. And then lastly...
And let's also, before we jump off that, is like you get that on a light table to where there is like nothing protecting you. So when I say light tables, the terrain is very sparse on these.
Yeah.
Not a lot of sight. There's not a lot of things to hide in. Big units will have trouble.
That's exactly right. So the last of this 8-pack is Solar Watch Custodies, and it's the 20 Warden build. So 20 Wardens, 3-1-1 Alaris, and then the support pieces, a couple of Scissors of Silence, and then Trajan and co. But you're actually picking up a really good point, because when you have that table pick, there's 8 tables to choose from, and there is a spectrum of terrain. Dustin, do you want to explain better?
The spectrum of terrain, you mean?
Yeah.
Well,
what can you expect from the terrain? Like, what's a light feel like? What's a dense feel like? What's the middle?
a light is the last time I went, at least it was almost like Planet Bowling Ball. It was pretty light. Now it's changed a little bit
Couple
now, but
pieces of felt like you're playing a
couple
war
pieces
machine.
of felt. Yeah, like there's gonna be like
Yes.
one
It's
tree
Not that.
in the
It's
middle
not.
of some.
It's not that. It's not that bad,
No,
folks.
it's
Just
not that bad. It's not that bad. No, like a light kind of. There's no way to hide any mass units. Like if you need like a Warden or Dark Angel list with Deathwing Terminators, put them on a light table. They don't care because and you just move the table and they're survivable anyway. But they're made for like shooting armies. They have all the firing lanes. You can't hide much. There's like going to be 2 ruins or so that you can really put a few things behind. Medium tables are a little better. They're the most balanced ones, and heavy is getting lines of sight to shoot on heavy tables is it's not impossible. They're actually really well designed at WTC.
Really well designed. The last series of terrain mats that came out that we played in 2022 was the best terrain I'd ever played on.
Yeah,
the
it's
best
actually
format
incredible.
terrain I'd ever played on. Really well crafted.
Yeah,
Hundreds of
Casido's got
thousands
it.
of reps.
Yeah.
Kelsey's
David H.
got a
It
comment
is. This is total points overall. That's what the team.
The comment I'm referring to is that so you can have a team made up of some of the best singles players, and they may struggle in the team environment.
Absolutely.
One of the things we talked about with the team dynamic and everything, ego is one of those things. Sometimes in the pairing situation, we've all been on teams where it's like you have to tell someone, go out there and try to lose as worst as possible. Lose as little as possible. Just you're going to take your lumps. Get out there. Yeah. Try to hoover up every terrible list we're going to come up against and do your best. And not everyone can handle that.
No.
And what I say that is when you're in let's say you're playing in a 6-round event and you're on your 3rd loss in a row, sometimes you got to get back on the horse and play it like the next game like it was your first. And not everyone is capable of that.
It is a mindset that you need to have too, because you're going there's going to be people like Paul is saying. There's going to be people that you're going in there specifically to lose every game, but try to lose as well as possible, like still get pulls. Any point that you get against a list like GSC or some of these other, like some of the demon lists that are meant, or world eaters that are meant to just pound you and get big differentials, every point you pull is huge for the team. So even though you're losing, you are still contributing so much that a lot of people have trouble with that mindset, and it's hard because you just keep getting beat up, and your team will usually buy you beer like through every round. They
some nachos.
There's some nachos, something like that. We had somebody on that, like last time when I went, we were always buying them the beers. He knew his job. He took it with stride too. It was great. So it's the mindset you need to get into. It's hard. It is hard.
Team Netherlands, we're going to talk about next.
Well, let's break down this Team Poland for a minute. We did break down the list, and we didn't really discuss what they decided to bring. So just as a quick synopsis, we have MSU World Eaters, we have Tanky Defender, Dark Angels, we have Gonna Tabulum, Astra Militarum, very good defender, Zinch Demons, kind of well-rounded Assyriani Harlequins, but kind of skewed and interesting build. We have Take All Comers, Gene Stealer Cults, we have heavy skewed to merely Chaos Knights, and then we have kind of I'm too thick for you to kill Solar Watch. What do we make of that? How do guys feel about this 8-pack?
I mean, it's Team Poland. They know what they're doing, and this 8-pack shows it.
You look at it's all blades and bricks. That's their scalpels.
That's a very good way of saying it, buddy.
The only one that I even have a question on, when I say question, I don't mean I don't think they should have taken it. It's interesting to me is the Chaos Knights.
So it's interesting to say. I was really surprised to see how many took Chaos Knights, especially Chaos Knights over Imperial Knights. I do know Chaos Knights are much more of a spoiler list and can play on a medium table a lot better, and possibly even some heavy tables.
Because all the smaller, you're talking about because all the smaller knights. I mean, they're still on the 100mm bases or whatever. Yeah. But you can get them. Anything you can fit a Rhino through, you can basically fit the
exactly. You're definitely going to have a lot of more choke points to deal with as you tier up through the spectrum of terrain. But if you have the right player, if you play in the right fashion, they can be used pretty effectively. Not on the heaviest. You just don't want to be there. They can't do enough.
Yeah, I'm curious though.
One freaking Nurgling just stops your whole game. You can't have it.
What kind of army are you hoping to put the Chaos Knights into? What are they there for?
What are they preying on?
Yeah.
I think that list is here for Space Marines.
I was going to say every Space Marine player. I think you can get them on a Space Marine, or I think even Votan with this particular list.
I think
would go chew them up.
Eldar and Harlequins don't love this matchup because, funnily enough, you look at the Chaos Knight army, and what you don't factor in is the fact that they can have 13 D6 strength 5 mortar shots from out of line of sight, and they can just sit still and kill all your Banshees, kill all your Shroud Runners, kill all your little juicy objective getters, and force you to start using real units to try and get points.
Sure.
Like, go second with your Craftworld's army, Halo Doom versus Knights, and they pick up all your Rangers. Things start to get a little awkward, of how you're going to get your points. It shuts down a whole secondary. They actually
do you think that works really well against Tau too? Because that's one of the ways to beat Tau is to get them to have to score points with their Riptides. They don't want to be doing that. They want to be moving and killing.
So a lot of people look at him like Renegade Knights. I've actually learned this in this house, in the trap house, the Art of War trap house. Renegade Knights, and I've been really inspired by this, being played as a tempo army rather than being played as an aggressive army. So they're going to sit still, wait to tier up for turn 2 or turn 3 on their dread table until they got all the juiciness going. They've got extremely good stable secondaries to sit still and get about 30 points without leaving their deployment zone. And then they can just shoot away all your screens over time. Even if you're playing Space Marines, if you're not getting 2-ups, they will get enough, kill things like infiltrators out of line of sight, get you out of the way, and then they just start shooting out 1, 2, 3 of these little melee carnivore units, or they can have a bunch of knights in reserve for free. Come on, get good angles with shooting. So I do quite like how they are as a bit of a spoiler here, and also they dunk GSC. How do you feel about that statement, Dustin?
Oh man.
I dare you to put Chaos Knights against me. I dare you.
I got crossfire, man.
Don't make it easy for me, Dustin. Don't make it easy. Don't rise to my bait.
Please. And everybody at Canhammer, please put your Chaos Knights into me, please.
I love it. No, the best thing they have going.
He's got rock saws and stuff, man.
They're really good into orcs. Actually, really good.
Yeah, that's true. They're really
orcs have awful leadership. And then you can basically be like, a Goth pressure list, half your charge, because you're failing your dread tests here, there, and everywhere. That stuff is really, really annoying. But anyway, I think it's a really good teams list. This 8-pack is really quite interesting because if you break it down, there's a lot of these are singles lists. World Eaters is a singles list, Dark Angels is a singles list, Ashram of Time is a singles list, the Gene Stealers is a singles list, and the Custodians is a singles list right now. So 5 of them are singles list. But then you have the Demons, that is a heavy skew anti-firepower matchup. That list exclusively wants to play into Tau, Guard, and Votan if it can, because they just can't shoot you dead. They just don't have the time to shoot you dead. You're going to be 3-up invuln on everything in the army, no matter what gun they have, and you're going to be -1 to hit from the Warp Storm table. And then you have this weird Asuriani build that so many people are just not going to know what it's going to do to you. It's going to be really quite a headache.
I don't think that's too much of a mystery about how that works, because those are. But at the same time, it doesn't mean anyone can do anything about it.
It's a take all
army is incredibly fast. Yeah,
I feel like that's a 10
and can choose what it kills, and then you can't really do much against it. So in turn 3, you're like wondering where all your pieces went, and they still got seemingly all of their army.
It's got every tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's got Daka, it's got stupid level characters in Baharoth. It's got surgical aggression and mortal wound output from the Harlequin side of things. It's kind of got it all. And so I'm really interested to see how that goes. But anyway, time for us to move on. Which team we got next? We got Team Netherlands. This is the host team, and so I wanted to give them their props. And also, I found it quite interesting how many parallels there were between this team and the previous one, and how they're a lot of the same list, but slightly altered, and I thought it was a good juxtaposition. First up, we have Chaos Demons. This is also Zinch, and I missed the T on the end of Zinch, but here we are. This guy has a Bellicor, also has 20 pinks, has 17 flamers rather than 18. Fail, shame, sir. 2 exalted sorcerers, 2 exalted flamers rather than 3. Brutal. One less screamer, 2 fate skimmers, and a burning chariot. So 3 chariots overall. But Bellicor, he has no luck. And with the points left, Bellicor has cost him 1 flamer, 1 exalted flamer, and 1 screamer to get Bellicor instead of the Lord of Change. And I thought that was really funny. Because otherwise, that list is exactly the same as the previous one. Leagues of Votan, Great Arthurian League, 7/6/5 Berserkers, 6/6/3 Pioneers, and 2 Hecaton Land Fortresses. The Dark Angels is 30 Terminators with MSU.
There's that 30th.
Yeah.
30 Terminators with MSU attack bikes and speeders, as in, I think it's 2 or 3 singles of each of those.
DA.list at this point.
It is, dude. It is. It is thickness.list.
I don't mind it, though. That's not a slight. That is just, just what you A lot of Dark Angels are taken out there right now.
You just calling it how you see it, brother. It's exactly right. Chaos Knights also house Herpatrax, 13 smalls once again. This time, 1 Carnivore, 9 Stalkers, 3 Executioners. This is the Daka build. This is much more Daka. World Eaters, virtually the same as the previous one, but pushing the MSU even harder and having a second Rhino instead of the Dreadclaw. So that's 5 units of Zerkers, 3 units of 8-bound, 3 units of Exalted 8-bound, 3 single spawn, 2 Rhinos. So that is pretty much just exactly...
Do you think that's a model choice? I mean, probably not. When you can find somebody that has a Dreadclaw you could borrow.
Yeah, I think the Dreadclaw is kind of an experiment. I think they're just gonna suss out if that adds another wrinkle to that matchup. Lets it do something into like a yellow matchup that would have just been a yellow turned into a green or something.
I like the Rhinos though to rack up the blood type points a little bit quicker. But and we didn't talk about it on the last list about what how that list could generate the BTPs to get even more obnoxious. I think this list is on the precipice of being obnoxious faster.
Yes, I agree. We have another 20 Warden Solar Watch Custodies build, just 20 Wardens, and another Genestealer Cult list that's exactly the same as the previous one. To the point, exactly the same. And then lastly, we have a Goth Pressure Orcs list, 40 Grots, 3 into 4 Mega Knobs, 2 into 10 regular Knobs, 20 Storm Boys, 10-5-5, and 2 Battle Wagons to toke it all around. That is the 8-pack from Netherlands, guys. What do you think?
There's a couple in here that are just, I think they're auto-includes in teams right now, like the Dark Angels, the World Eaters, the Custodes, the GSC. Those are all auto-includes. I think A-Demons...
World Eaters, really?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
I think so too.
World Eaters are an amazing team list. If you get them the right matchup, they will run over it.
Because you put them up, Paul, as one of your first or second put-ups. They take a heavy table, and then you're just stressing. You're stressing somebody because they're very good into almost every melee matchup except for Space Wolves. They are not great versus Space Wolves.
Space Wolves because the fight lasts.
All the fight lasts plus Wolfen means down goes World Eaters. But they're very good in those matchups. They're just really hard to handle. And the fact that their secondary game is off the chain, it's off the charts right now. So literally, you can't pair them into guns because it's a heavy table. They're gonna pick it, and you can't peel them into melee unless you have the perfect melee matchup for them. So it's a really rough.
Like you'll put in Space Wolves and something else, and they'll generally take the something else.
They'll take
whatever it is, no matter what. Yeah.
Thing is, though, ain't no Space Wolves with this one, boys. There's none there. They're just going to slap them down. Let's go. Let's send it. Let's get them. I like it a lot. This one is an interesting one. So, because we have so many similarities here. The two here that are completely different from the previous is, of course, they have a Votann build, which wasn't there previously. But this one has the Votann instead of Guard. And I think,
Guard are definitely better than Votann, but I if you have the Votann's still good, but between the two, Guard are definitely better. But they're also, not everybody has that many models and all the models for that. Not everybody has the Dorn, but you don't have to take the Dorn. You know what I'm saying, though.
Exactly right.
We do think Guard are better, but there's nothing wrong with Votann.
And this one has Orcs. Now, Orcs is I would have said is the best list that Team Poland wasn't taking. Of the Polish lineup, Orcs was the best faction they didn't have.
Because the Orcs' ability to grind points.
Exactly right.
I was going to say that Orcs replacing their Chaos Knights, and that was just the ideal 8.
So there's a beautiful synergy that you get in your team when you got World Eaters and you got Orcs. Well, Goth Orcs. Where you're just like, one of these is going to make it, you know? You might stop one, but you ain't going to stop the other one because you need the same army to stop both. And they're both going to run a train and get 100 points unless you have a good choice. So this is how it usually goes. One of those lists goes up and then their best 2 pins goes into that one. Yeah. So cool. That one gets stopped. Then the next one goes up. Oh, one of those pins isn't there anymore. So it's a good option and a bad option. You take the good option. There's a path to victory. And that's what happens a lot of the time because so many people you're not able to bring 3 good solutions for one archetype. And if you do, it's because you've just got the right players and you kind of lucked out that they brought it and you brought it as well. But I really love seeing both of those in the same lineup. I think it's really cool.
Yep. No, I think that's a perfect ad for them. Having both of those armies is great. Again, the Chaos Knights, I mean, they obviously have play. That's the only one that I'm kind of like,
So the reason I like this Chaos Knights a bit better is that it's really pushing that strength 6 skew. 9 Stalkers What's 9 times 12, boys, off the top of your heads?
9 times 12, 108.
142. 147. 87.
21. 42.
There's an 18 in there. A niner. And 17.
So it's one less than 100.
It said 9 times 12.
So it's 100. It's 108.
It's 108. That's what I said first. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I was pretty close.
Mathematician right here.
That list has 108 strength 6 AP2 shots. It is pushing that skew real hard. If you are susceptible to strength 6, that thing's going to run you over. That's so many shots. It's really good. And once again, messes up orcs, right? All that toughness 5.
Yeah.
It does. Gene Stealer calls too.
Yeah, Gene Stealer calls. That's right, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Team Adam with this. I think Chaos Knights apparently are just going to rule all Gene Stealer cults.
No, it's me just making fun of him. Gene Stealer cults do messing it's just me messing with him. Mostly Gene Stealer cults do fine against it because they get to rock up and shoot first. That's pretty much
they
the
will
way.
come in and kill
up.
most of the knights before they get to do anything.
If they had to deploy across from them like guard would, the knights would eat them alive.
Oh yeah, if they had to deploy everything, they're dead.
Yeah,
but they don't do that.
but they do not do that. It's so interesting to see identical GSC lists and identical Custodes lists. Do you think there are any other Custodes lists you could take to teams, or is the 20 solo watch just too damn good in this environment?
I feel like, well, especially an 8-man team, when you have a Dark Angel Terminator block, the Warden block is a great synergy with it.
It's the other side of the card to the World Eater Orc combo. Yeah. It's the same thing, but on the inverse.
I do like that when you can just put out, you have no way out, whatever. Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah, you are scoring no points. Now, which one would you like to score less into? Would you like the golden scoring less, or would you like the green scoring less? Yes, this is a fork. I did just scratch my back. That's why it's here.
Don't you actually get a real back scratcher? That's what I have one of these for.
Oh, you got a fancy fork.
I got a fancy fork. Yeah, it stretches out. Look at that.
I'm on the road. That is pretty
beautiful.
Good,
yeah, it's nice.
That's what we do around here.
Anyway, Team Poland's going to win.
Oh, right. Okay. So in team events, sometimes we either call the team that's going to win, but sometimes we don't get to highlight all the teams. There's only 8 teams there, though, even though it's a stacked list, a collection of teams.
So of the national sides in attendance, because I think there are, I can't remember if there's 2 Gumby teams or there's 1 Gumby team. Team Poland's there, Team France is there, and Team France also looks very strong. Team Luxembourg, Team Iceland, Team Netherlands, and there's one more, and it's going to piss me off that I can't remember it. But there's another national team there. There's 6 national sides.
We also call what we think is going to be the faction that wins the most battle points.
Ooh, I know what Justin's going to say.
Oh yeah, it's GSC.
I'm going to go World Eaters.
Yep.
World Eaters? I'm going Eldari.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a good choice.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't hate that choice either. I think that's fine.
So
the reason is because the Polish WTC Eldari player, if it's the same guy as last year's Eldari player, is probably the best Eldari player in the world. So good choice, Paul. You fell backwards into it, mate. Just like
he knew. He
look. I've got my eye on the prize here of winning the. We never have to look back. We're always right. Anyway.
We are.
Forwards. That's it. It's forwards.
But I think that faction is kind of primed to be represented in a way and also be positioned through the teams because you want them to score a lot of points and you want to make use out of their lethality, and that's what's going to happen. You're not going to put them in matches where they fall over.
I just did a faction ladder episode on one of my other shows, and the Peter the Falcon came on bringing all the Goonhammer, ITC Battle App, all those stats with him, and he classified Asurani, Craftword Elder, as an S tier faction on stats. Like they are going a little bit by the wayside, but the stats say they are one of the top 4 armies in the game.
Wow!
So yeah, pretty wild. So it's
Dustin. What do you think?
I'm sure. I think they're.
Oh no! About what team or faction do you think is winning this thing, or pulling down the most battle points?
Well, battle points is going to be Gene Stealer cult for now, and
so
it's definitely between Poland and France, but I would have to go with Poland.
Got to bet on the Poles.
Yeah, but they're
right. Now we're jumping to all the way across back to the United States. For an event, actually, I mean, it's in my state. It's way far away.
It's between me and you. I'm going to be at this one.
Ooh. Major Mayhem from Valdosta, Georgia. 61 players, 5-round event. What are we going to see there?
We are going to be seeing from the Imperial Super Faction, there are going to be 6 Custodes, 3 Astra Militarum, 1 Grey Knight, 3...
Nate.
You're the Grey Knight? 1 loser Grey Knight, 3 Imperial Knights, some snowflake trying to bring Grey Knights. Space Marines, there's 1 Dark Angel, 2 Space Wolves, 1 Blood Angel, 1 Ultramarine, 1 Salamander, 3 Black Templar, 1 White Scar, 1 Iron Hand. Wow. Chaos, there is 2 Chaos Space Marines, 4 Death Guard, 4 World Eaters, 5 Demons, and 2 Renegade Knights. Xenos, there's 2 Necrons, 7 Orcs, 2 Tau, and 4 Votann. Hivemind, there's only 1 Tyranid.
Ba-bow.
Eldari, there's only 1 Asuriani.
Look at those try-hard orcs.
I know.
Yeah, faction podium means orcs are in first with 7, Custodes in second with 6, and demons in third with 5. It's
a spicy.
That is a weird spread. That's a nice spread. I'm not gonna lie, not having any GSC there will be nice for you guys.
It will be nice
because they are everywhere right now, and I'm getting tired of seeing that same list.
No Space Marines on the podium or near the podium is quite interesting. Also.
I like it. Well, also, by the way, I was only kidding about the orcs thing. It's like the game is better when some of the traditional, known as the enemy or the bad guy factions, are great, and orcs being one of those. When orcs are good and in a thriving in the meta, the game just feels good.
Yeah, even when orcs have been like the biggest bad, like as in like the most powerful or broken faction, the game hasn't been anywhere near as toxic. When they've been the strongest, like in 8th edition, when orcs were the strongest faction, had the double, 2x10 looters or whatever, and they were just blowing people up. That was still pretty tolerable compared to some other parts of the game. That was just like, this is fine, whatever. Let them have their fun. Don't complain too hard. But this is an interesting one. Yeah. So this is being played on GW format terrain. So look at all of these lists and all of these factions through that lens, and you can see why, especially demons and orcs, are very popular for this, because they get to not get shot turn 1, guaranteed not getting shot turn 1 unless they make a mistake. Like all the power is in your hands to not get alpha struck, and also it leans to a very much more explosive melee archetypes, explosive melee format to the games.
Which you can set up a staging environment essentially for your turn 2, turn 3 charges a little bit more routinely on these terrain setups.
Yeah, and so it breeds a much more melee-based meta, which is what we're going to see when we jump into some of our top players in attendance. The first of which is Mr. John Lennon, who's currently was hanging out with me building models, trying to get this army painted, John, about an hour ago. He's playing Slaanesh Demons.
Okay. Haven't seen those in a while.
Wow. I like it.
This is an interesting one, and this is specifically for this terrain format. So he's got troops as his Ark of Omen mandatory. He's got two Infernal Enrapturouses, which I have to actually tell you are busted, because you can heal the same unit twice. I didn't know this, but you can just heal the same unit twice as two interactions. Like I've killed 3 fiends, and then 2 of them have come back, and I've said, "Can I see your codex, please?" Immediately. How did you do this?
Wait, give me that.
Just give me right here. Then he's got a Tormentor on Seeker Chariot, a Transweaver, 80 Demonettes, that's 8 units of 10, maximum Fiends, that's full 18 3x6 Fiends, and 10 Seekers. And that's the list.
So, do you know?
That's a lot of Fiends.
I'm assuming you've been practicing against this a little bit since you're with John.
I've been losing against this. That's correct.
Okay. So, what is the Slaanesh specific Warp Storm? I don't remember that one offhand.
Always Strikes First is the one you'll be seeing almost all the time. He's gonna be not in combat with you, and then he's gonna be entirely in combat with you, either you charging him or him charging you, and then his whole army is gonna fight first, and you're just gonna tit for tat. And then he has more pieces than you. Because he can go 1 for 1. Demonettes can 1 for 1 most things in the game. Fiends can 1 for 1 or 2 for 1 most things in the game. And then so you get into a big massed combat, and then you 1 for 1, and he just has more units, and he just grinds straight through you. Either that, or you get into this kind of slinging match where you throw one thing out into the middle, pull down a banner, do an action, get some points. He does the same, and then he'll start wrapping you, trapping you, doing 6-inch piles in the consolidates, getting onto your home objectives because you gave him slingshots, stuff like that. It's kind of on this terrain exclusively. I think this is like an orc list plus. Like, has got some things worse than Orc list and some things better than an Orc list. And I think it's kind of a fun amalgamation of the two. He actually says this plays like 8th edition GSC did.
Oh, that would be fun. I liked 8th edition.
Okay.
That's
wow.
why he likes it. That's what he says. He says it plays like 8th edition GSE did. Fiends being the
I'm going
aberrants.
to try this list, John. I'm going to put that to the
Do it,
test.
do
I'm
it.
curious.
Yeah.
And if you're right, then I'll probably prove this. I'll be playing with it. It'll be fun because I like 8th edition GSC.
He's really enjoying it. What do you guys think? Any questions, or what do you guys think of this list? Because on paper you're just like, eh.
Well, you just sold me saying what it plays like. So
I did.
It feels like getting up in people's faces, again, when you want to, and I enjoy that. And with there's a lot of abilities here we have not seen widely used. We've seen like, oh, that's really neat if you ever run into it, but you'll never run into it. And now we know it's going to be in the hands of a capable player who can force those interactions, utilize the terrain to their advantage, and we're going to see those rules work.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Seth Oster, the Mad Dog himself. He's playing Goth Orcs. A fast attack as his Arcs of Omen choice. He has a Beast Box on Squigosaur, he has Boss Zagstruck, and a War Boss on Warbike and a Weird Boy. Funnily enough, that is very close to what Ben Jurek took last week, as in that is could be the ubiquitous 4-pack HQs we're going to start to see everywhere. 3 into 10 Beast Snagger Boys, 3 into 10 Gretchen, 2 into 10 Commandos, 10 Knobs, 3/3/4 Squighog Boys, 3x10 Storm Boys, and a single truck for the Truck Boy Knobs to go around in. So that's no kill rigs, probably because of the terrain format, but a lot more boys.
And Storm Boy's coming back. I mean, they've seemed to have made a resurgence, almost like a renaissance of the Storm Boy.
They pop in and out, don't they?
No,
Literally.
I don't think so. Do they?
In this kind of numbers, it's usually there's more Commandos than Storm Boys in most lists. There'll be like 20 Commandos, 15 Storm Boys, or that'd be a 10 and a 5 or 3 5s. But this one is the 30 Storm Boys, and he's got no Commandos, right?
He's got
2x10 Commandos. Yeah, he's got 20 Commandos, 30 Storm Boys. So he's gone the other way. I don't think it's a wrong choice. I think they're both phenomenal, Commandos or Storm Boys, but they kind of operate in a similar manner, as in they're your turn 1 pressure. And I think in G-dub terrain, you don't always need the Commandos turn 1 because there's a lot of ability to stage. You don't need to disrupt turn 1. You can just stage pretty safely. And who's this madman that's going to push on orcs when they're staging? Like
John,
literally John. It was a trick question, guys. Catch up.
It is.
I got it.
Sorry, Paul.
So the list does seem kind of like a bit of a trap. It's like how do you attack into that? There's always going to be some unit supporting the other unit.
It's nothing is going to be. It's never going to be 1 for 1, right? You have to 2 for 1 because, like John, he has so many units. How many? Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly count. You guys keep talking. How many units does these guys have?
Yeah, about 1 billion. It's in the orcs. A billion. With the fact that we've talked about how their weapons are actually meaningful, their number of attacks are meaningful, their armor contempt is a thing of the distant past. So their ability to score points. You're going to make them a force.
Like it's still really good, right? Because they're all like mass -1. So armor contempt being gone means that -1 does something, and it's a big deal with the mass number of attacks they have.
So 16 relevant units from John, and there is not counting the Gretchen. So we've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 16 as well. Not counting the truck or the grots from Seth. So 16 and 16 relevant melee units is kind of nuts. It's pretty funny that they've come to
it's the whole table. Again, you're not going to be able to isolate anything. You've got to hope that he comes out of you. You've got enough to force through 2 or 3 units at a time. And that can be a difficult ask sometimes.
Absolutely. If you are susceptible to either from John's side point of view, like medium strength mass, or from Seth sorry, he'd be lower strength but better rend. Seth is going to be better strength but lower rend, and so it's kind of you're going to be bad into one of them, right? no one's good into both of these. No one has a profile that doesn't care about either of these. Everyone just hates it. Anyway, one last list before we sign off from the breakdowns. We have Mr. Thomas Bird bringing his Ymir conglomerate, the Glom from the Leagues of Votan. He is playing Arcs of Omen Fast Attack also. Is that all 3 of them playing Fast Attack? No, John was Troops. He has a Brokia Forge Master, a Grimnir, and a High Carl. 2x5 Berserkers, 3 units of 3 Pioneers. He has a pair of Sagittars.
That's light on Pioneers.
It is, yeah. He doesn't like big units. I actually interviewed him and asked him about it. But anyway, unit of 5 and unit of 4 Thunderkin and a single Hecaton Land Fortress. This is point for point the list he took to Cherokee Open and to Greats. He made it to the top 8, I believe. with this list, did extremely well. But I'm really curious how this list goes on this terrain, because Cherokee was player place terrain, a lot of agency on the player's part. This one is just G-dub terrain. You get what you get.
I think it may actually be better though, especially with the with the Pioneers being able in the smaller units. Well, which I did question, legitimate question, but also I know the capabilities of this player, and I know he's he gets to really know his list and knows the ins and outs, and not going to make many mistakes. But the smaller footprint of that unit will allow him to be very surgical with them.
Be very, very well hidden as well. I expect in this format though, they're probably just going to be traded like on mid-board objectives, because the only fasting he's got, he wants to use them to bait out decent sized units from his opponent. Because 10 boys doesn't kill three pioneers, right? At least I don't believe so. So it's gonna be a little bit more to guarantee the job gets done. And then one unit of Zerkers can just be the response unit in a Sagittар to go out and clean up that objective once again. So he's going to try and use them probably to get 2-for-1s, because they'll go out, they'll try and get an angle, they go into a mid-board objective, get an angle, do a bit of DACA, and then get 2-for-1s, and then something will come out, clean up what you did, and retake that objective. Either that, or he's gonna hunt the flanks really hard with them.
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of people talk about Thunderkin, but not a lot of people bring Thunderkin.
I gotta say,
we've been seeing Thunderkin come out a lot more lately with the Grav, for sure.
Only in the last couple of weeks, though. It's really only in the last month. So Paul's absolutely right. Since release, it's only really been now that the wave is starting to build for the Thunderkin. A lot of people have been experiencing things like Hearthguard and the troops and all that stuff. They ain't it, guys. Get those Thunderkin, chuck them in reserve, give them the beamers, give them the Grav, give them the bolters. Doesn't matter. I think they're one of the best. Apart from the bikes, the Thunderkin are the best value in that Codex.
I agree.
But these are, I believe there's 1 unit of Grav, 1 unit of beamers, and Thomas loves the beams. He loves the beams, because he'll usually put them both in reserve, or at least the beams in reserve, and he'll wait till you to come out. Or if you're silly enough, and this is G'd-up, he'll get in behind you and you'll draw a huge amount of beams through one of your big U objectives, your big GW objectives, and he'll just cut you up in your backfield with just 5 beamers.
That'd be fun to watch.
Dude, I wish you could get like a little light show going for the beams, like a bunch of like laser pointers, just be like never mind. It would be fun.
So this is, now we've seen the faction breakdown with this is an individual event. What faction is winning this thing? What player or faction is winning this thing?
It's hard to go against the 8th edition GSC list.
I don't know how you sold.
Being the Fiends of Slanesh. And
so the other big player here is Jack Harpster is in attendance here playing Custodes. He's playing foot Custodes. Like, so no Dreads, no Caladiuses.
Is it Warden spam, or is it like Sagittarium?
No, it's not. It's MSU Sagittarium with 1 big Alaris brick, 1 unit of 6 Alaris.
I like that.
I like it a lot. I think that's another good list. And that could give a lot of headaches to a bunch of these other ones. So that's the only relevant one that's the only big name that we didn't mention in this breakdown. Mostly because I feel like it's Custodes, whatever. But well, I haven't broken down a Votan list in a while, I felt like. So I wanted to get that one on. And Thomas Burr's a legend. But that's also a little wrinkle to this. But I reckon John's list is going to be hard to beat.
I've got my pick, though.
Okay.
Grey Knights.
Oh, you mad lad. Oh, aren't you just a gem?
You just got to hope that somebody takes out John before you have to fight him in the last round.
That's right. Because I played him on G-Dub terrain. I was like, I can't shoot you, and you get to fight me whenever you want. Rough. I hope I go second. hope I go second, because I went first in that game, and I was like, he can just sit there and wait for the 12. Yep. There's nothing I can do about it. It's rough.
Yeah, that's not the kind of situation you want to be in. I like that list. I think it's going to do well. I just realized too that 2 episodes ago you guys called me a Bond villain, and
I did.
My cat has actually been sitting on my lap because she's sitting on my lap, so I had to start petting her, giving her attention. Now.
The prophecy is complete.
Hey, this is the part of the show. We run down our events. We talked about the meta that's coming up, and now it's time for a palate cleanser. We call this the Fuego Rapido. This is a kind of a silly segment. Sometimes it's spaced around 40K, sometimes it's not. This is when sometimes we would invite production on. Production's been here the whole time.
The whole time.
Mr. Dustin and Shaw, where we put out a series or a string of topics, give ourselves 2 minutes to run down our hottest takes on whatever that topic may be. Once the 2 minutes is over, we drop the topic, move on to the next one, as if it never happened, never to return to it, unless it's funny or the chat demands it.
All good reasons.
Sometimes these have a theme, sometimes they don't.
This one has a theme.
Dustin, we're ready when you are.
Well, it's not yet. There it is. It is retro gaming is the theme. We got there.
Okay.
I think it's because the Mario Day just passed us. So.
Oh yeah,
March 10th.
March 10th. Yep.
See? Okay. You need to get off the desk now. All right, number 1.
It's famous now.
Best video game system of the Bit Wars. Now, I guess I should. Do you guys know what the Bit Wars are?
You talking about the 8-bit, 64-bit?
Yeah. So it was the time where it was just like everybody was trying to outbid each other in terms of like, oh, the Super Nintendo's 16-bit, but now I got this 32-bit system.
So was this Mega Drive, SNES, or is this Nintendo 64 PlayStation?
Technically, it goes up to Nintendo 64 because it still had the bit in the name.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it started with Sega, transitioned into PlayStation as the final form.
Yes.
The Sega Mega Drive was my family's console of choice.
But was it the best?
I mean, it had Alex the Kid built in, so yes.
Alex the Kid? That was your game, eh?
No,
I feel
it wasn't.
almost
it was better than the Zero you got with the SNES.
I feel guilty with it having including the 64 bits in this because they just become their own thing. It's like so without them. It's probably the regular Nintendo. With them, it's still probably Nintendo, but it's a Nintendo 64. but the Nintendo was only a little bit better than the ColecoVision.
What?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, ColecoVision was good for its time.
ColecoVision's graphics were amazing compared to like the Atari. And it came out. That was the same era as like the Intellivision, which nobody could get because only 5 of them were made at some Radio Shack somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Is that the one that had Montezuma's Revenge? Because that was a great game.
What?
Montezuma's Revenge. Come on, I'm dating myself a little bit. Paul knows what I'm talking about,
though. So, man, I remember playing Double Dragon, the original Double Dragon on was it Mega Drive? I can't remember if it was Mega Drive or Master System, but I wasted a lot of hours right there. It was a good time.
Commodore 64. That was actually my first computer.
Mine too.
And
we borrowed it from the school.
Yeah.
And I would judge, we're off topic, but I would judge like how cool the game was that I wanted to buy by how heavy the box was, how many like discs were in it, or how, the rulebook or whatever. That's how could be a great. All right.
And that it was SNES. That was the best one.
Shush. No, that's fair.
Next up, it is what is the best retro video game ever made?
This is going to be hard to give me a year by which things are retro before this year and retro after.
I would say
before.
It's the same thing. So same thing with the Bit Wars. So like N64 era is the end of it. Oh, you're searching it up now. You're Google. Google during Fuego.
Yeah. the best retro game of all time. You have to. No, because it's not Final Fantasy because that's outside of our bit discussion. So it has to be Zelda, Legend of Zelda. The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, first one.
So it's not Ocarina. It's not.
Those wouldn't exist without Zelda being as good as it was.
I was going to say GoldenEye.
GoldenEye is amazing.
Is GoldenEye retro? Like, because
I thought GoldenEye 64. Yep,
counts.
That counts for sure.
The only other one I think could possibly be it would be the Pokemon games, or the first 2 Pokemon games, just because of what they're just ridiculously explosion of a whole fandom, whole genre.
You guys are talking like the most impactful ones then, like which
actually, you're absolutely.
I enjoy playing Zelda.
Right.
Oh no, I don't. Hey, I am a Zelda fanatic. You kidding me? I have a Master Sword and a Hylian shield hanging above my fireplace right now.
You know what?
I'm all in for those ones, and I actually say Link to the Past because I think that is the pinnacle. Of Zelda.
There was a Sega game, a mythical Sega game where you played as the hero of all heroes. His name was Boogerman.
I said Earthworm Jim.
And Earthworm Jim was absolutely phenomenal. One of the best soundtracks to a video game ever. But Boogerman was my jam, and that is my pick. If you don't know it, go look it up. It was a side-scrolling, hilarious thing. We had to fart, spit, snot on stuff to get through the levels. It was amazing.
Metroid also.
Metroid, yeah. Jeez, there's a lot of really good retro games. If you guys haven't played retro games, you need to do it. If you have a Switch, you can get them for free, basically, if you have it online. So
I have 3 retro game posters.
yes, exactly. Says the guy.
Mario. It's like Metroid and Zelda.
Yeah, those are just. Fuego, that one could take forever because there's so many good ones.
We could do the whole episode on it.
Which retro video game could have made the best 40K retro game?
Ooh, I do like. So Doom and Duke Nukem have been thrown out. I'd like to add Quake to that. Just one of those style. One of those style, just gritty, dirty, dank.
I feel
shooters.
Like Duke Nukem
but that was on,
didn't
that was
take
on
itself
the
seriously enough.
That was just PC though, right?
That was PC, yeah. Well, no, there was ports, but PC. They're basically PC. Space Invaders.
I think you're right. Like Doom and Quake would have been like easily skinned for 40K.
Yeah,
if you go back to was it Castle Wolfenstein or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You could just skin that to be Space Hulk, where you're just a guy smashing up James.
That would be cool, actually. Yeah.
Nice Joel got Wolfenstein. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are good ones too. What about a non-shooter
after
one,
Wolfenstein?
I have no idea. They were like right after each other. I just don't remember which one came first. I feel like Doom came first.
I mean, if we're saying non-shooter and we're allowing computer games, Space Hulk did exist as a computer game back then.
True.
So maybe we should limit it to just console stuff.
Yeah, okay, so console then. Let's go console. We still got time.
And a non-shooter.
Mortal Kombat. Let's do it.
Just ripping each other apart.
Just 20 Primarchs. Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. And I can't believe we didn't say Street Fighter is one of the best games too.
I know. We
Street
really
Fighter's up there, yeah.
We could be here all day. So when I say we're never going to revisit a topic, we might change that.
Yeah, we would have to do it.
Dude, imagine being Mortal Kombat, playing as Conrad Kurz and doing his fatality and just like skinning Alfarius or something.
So I could see a Castlevania 40K port.
Yeah, that's good.
Cyborg Justice. If you guys have never played that Sega game, you need to play that game. That game is incredible. You actually get to build your own robot. You actually go out into space, fight other robots. You're ripping their arms off. And you're stealing them, replacing your arms with their arms. Oh, that game is so much fun. I can see it on my Sega right now. I love it.
Fuego.
It's a Fuego. Oh, that one doesn't have a thing. Oh, there it is. Which retro game does the Emperor play when nobody's watching?
Frogger.
Frogger?
He probably plays Battletoads until he gets up to the bike level, and then he breaks
it.
He breaks it every time. He just mind breaks the game.
The one thing in the universe he cannot do.
And then he asks the guards to build him another one.
There's a Star Wars video game. It's like part side scroller or whatever, and you have to jump up the sand crawler to go and get to the top. Mm-hmm. It is one of the most. It's up there with Battletoads frustration. It's like you're not even off Tatooine, and Luke's just getting killed by this sandcrawler.
The Sims is a good one being thrown out in chat. Yeah, it's pretty good. What was the one where you? So I remember playing one where you have to build a theme park.
Tycoon.
That's it.
I bet you he plays that, but it's Galaxy Tycoon, and he's just like building an Imperium every time. He's like, "Why is it still on fire? Someone fix this."
Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That's a good one too. I like that one.
That's a good one.
I think he plays Tetris. I think he definitely plays Tetris. 100%. Listen to the music.
Plays StarCraft.
Yeah, I mean, he plays StarCraft in real life. So
plays as the Protoss exclusively.
Civilization.
Big E is a Protoss player. I love that. I'm gonna meme on that for a while.
Is it Burger Time?
Burger Time? Is it? Oh,
was it? You would run across the top and release the toppings on the thing.
You would reference a burger making video game, Paul.
I enjoyed it.
Is that where your love of burgers first came from? Was that Burger Time game?
Brand.
Ghouls and Ghosts? Ghosts and Goblins, depending on which gas station you played it in.
Yeah, that's true.
That was such a hard game.
That was really
I loved that. I put many physical quarters into that machine.
Oh my god, we missed. Damn, we already passed it.
Oh.
But I didn't say Altered Beast.
Altered Beast, yeah. Fuego.
Love that.
That was a good game too.
Rise from your grave.
Did y'all have the Street Fighters that had the things you had to hit, like big buttons? It was a joystick with two large like buttons that you had to pound on with your fist, and the harder you hit, it was your light, medium, and heavy.
Yeah.
So that was before the 6-button.
Yeah.
Games.
That was the golden age. Speaking of golden axe, yeah. What faction would Mario play in 40K?
Salamanders.
Who jumps a lot?
Salamanders?
Whose only way of doing anything is jumping?
Harlequins?
It's fair. I mean, Mario is like, by the standards of a regular human, Mario is astoundingly acrobatic. That dude just jumps for like hours nonstop.
He would be a player in the Harlequins. He would like that, I think.
Yeah. Just
every time you move a Harlequin,
I was gonna say Blood Angels because jump packs, like just jumping.
Well,
and also
he would definitely have what's that strat called? The impact one.
Hammer of Wrath.
Hammer of Wrath. He would the army he plays would have to have Hammer of Wrath for sure.
Mario falls to the Black Rage. I like that.
That's Luigi. And so
that is the Waluigi. It's Wario. It's Wario. He falls to the Black Rage. Oh my god.
No, that's obviously the
it's happened.
Sons of Horus. Wario.
Sons. Oh yeah. Okay. Give him the star for invulnerable. Is there what faction would it be like able to pick out different equipment just like during the game?
Who just powers up? Yeah, exactly. Who just like powers up from random stuff? Wait. He eats a shroom and gets powerful. He's an orc.
Oh,
he's an evil son. He goes faster.
There we go.
Yeah, he's wearing red. He's an evil son.
He's an orc player. You're right.
Damn. Yeah.
I think you cracked it.
Solved it. That was it for sure.
That's it.
He's wearing red. You pointed it right there.
I was thinking salamanders because he's happy, champion humanity or whatever. No, orcs are always happy.
Always happy, right?
Always happy.
And they're
fine to destroy every Koopa, every mushroom, wreck every castle.
Scorched earth. Bit of biffo. Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and he wants to finish the level as fast as possible.
There it is. Mario is an orc. Done. We solved it, guys. We figured it out. And that's Fuego.
Oh, and that means that's the end of our show. This has been a great one. I've really enjoyed it. We do this live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. The clock's changed, by the way. It's not 9 p.m. everywhere in the world, so I apologize for those that don't have the clock. I shifted the same way we did. I didn't even think about that until just now. Should have mentioned should have put out some notice or whatever. Watch this space. Hit us up on the social medias. You can actually hit me up also on Twitter, Warmaster_TPM, or on Instagram at Fights with Dice. If you want to talk about what your event's coming up, make sure that you've got all your factions listed in BCP. Send us the BCP link. You might make it on the show for consideration. Yeah. Thanks a lot for everybody coming and being part of the chat. Really keeps it going for us. Always fun to watch and listen to. Thanks for spending that time with us. Everyone else out there. We will see y'all next week.
Good night,
everybody.